the thing that strikes me is in all his dealings, he's had an extraordinary way of dealing with people, caring about people, treating people properly. When we've talked about his management of the coal industry and coal mines and different things like that, the safety he had for his employees, I know that Jim had the highest concern for his employees and the people that worked for him, and I think that just really exemplifies what Jim's character and what he is as a man.
Where did that instill that kind of camaraderie and in a company? Where do you think that came from in you personally? Family background, or where do you see that as opposed to you being the BOSS, the big boss?
Well, I think that's probably comes from being an extrovert, number one, and because you just love people, love to be around them. And I think it's the competitive spirit that I've got formed by being, we grew up very poor, and I worked from the time I was 9 or 10 years old, delivering papers to driving school buses and waiting on tables and a collection of other jobs. And so I'm pretty competitive, particularly in business. And you put that together, and you know, if you have any business sense at all, you know that you've got to get your team to work with you, not against you. And if there are differences sometimes about pay or bonuses or hours worked or the places you work or whatever, you have to sit down quickly and iron that out. And when you do, you've got a happy team. And I think more than anything else, more than pay or anything, is you've got to respect people and recognize their skills and recognize their successes, and you've got to deal with any failures that you will have. You can't take risks unless you have failures, but there you can't yell and scream or jump up and down. You just have to say to somebody, we'll do better the next time. Most people, good people, hate having a failure in business more than you almost do as the owner. But if they're great, if they're good people like I always had, or mostly always had, you just help them to get over that and move along, and you learn from those things. But we were so lucky to have people who just loved working with the company, and we had a good time, and being competitive, we tried to be better than the competition. And
now, did you
we served our customers better, and we think we did it more productive.
Well, obviously you've done very, very, very well. Those early formative years, which we want as a grandpa myself, and wanting to the next generations to move forward, to have some support for you to even take on a paper boy or a job or a painting job, whatever it was. You needed some parent to say, or some family person say, go do that, try that. That entrepreneurial spirit somehow is, you were given the freedom to do that, as opposed to just come home, do your homework, and that's it.
Oh yes, my father was in business, and he was a big booster of being an entrepreneur, and he helped me. I'll never forget. I was about 10 or 12 years old, and I was in the summertime, and I bought corn from farmers, and I went house to house selling this corn, and I paid like for a dozen ears of corn. I probably paid back then 50 cents, and I got $1 for it. And so he said, a better way to do this is build yourself a little stand outside, alongside the road. We lived in the country, and people would stop. You could sell a lot more corn. Well, he helped me that next day or two to build a little small stand and put a sign up, corn for sale, and an entrepreneur was born. So,
as your first coal mine.
Right.
That's great. Well, those stories, that should give me goosebumps, that kind of a story, because that.
And my dad was in. He owned a little small coal company in the 40s and 50s. Didn't do too well, but it kept us alive. And then when I bought this company, he was just a guest that I would do that, being a lawyer, and that I would give up my practice of law. But he came in and became a partner. There were 7 of us, and so I got to work some 30 years with my dad, almost 30 years with my dad after that, being a partner in our company.
Well, there's another extension of you being a respectful man. I mean, working with the dad and appreciating and respecting him in that manner, and just by the way you're saying that, 30 years of working with your that of itself is another blessing.
Yeah, it really was. And we had there was some fun things with Dad. He was an accountant, and so
Boy.
he had a very, very small company before he gave it up, before he came with us, a long time before he came with us.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very interesting thing was that he oversaw part of the accounting for a while. Then we just got so big that, we got computers and we had dozens and dozens of accountants. And one day he walked into my office and he said, "I am really frightened about something." I said, "What's that?" He said, "The bills that we pay, not the wages or anything, just the bills for supplies we pay are running $2 million a day. What do you think about that?" He said, "I don't think we're going to make it." I said, "Dad, I wish there were 4 or 5 million a day. That would mean we've really gotten big." So he was so upset about the magnitude of that. Or not upset, worried, I guess.
Of course, no doubt about it. I always think that those accountants are what they call the line. That's your tackle and your guard. And without those guys in the company, there is no possibility of a quarterback ever throwing the ball.
Well, you're absolutely right. And a lot of people, certainly me, got a lot more credit than we deserve because my partners, including my dad, stood back and let me lead and be the quarterback. And then I had hundreds and thousands of employees who let me do the same thing. And I got a lot of credit that they should have gotten. And they did get from me, but not the world didn't know their names and who they were. But I do. And I'll never, I'll remember them all and just love them for what they did.
That's a beautiful thing. The philanthropy side of you, you're involved with quite a different group of outreach. You have involvement with the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts.
Avid collectors of American fine art, Jim and his wife Fran have established the James W. and Frances G. McGlothlin Wing at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts.
There is a whole wing, the McGlothlin Wing, at this museum that houses a lot of the art that he will leave to the museum, so it'll be passed on from generation to generation for others to see and enjoy.
You have something with the Medical Education Center at the Virginia Commonwealth.
In 2011, as part of their commitment and dedication to improving healthcare, Jim and Fran established the James W. and Frances G. McGlothlin Medical Education Center at Virginia Commonwealth University. The VCU Medical Education Center will be a state-of-the-art facility that will enable the school to increase class size and transform medical education.
And I know you have a darn passion, because we have 6 of your students up there at Quinnipiac University, or maybe more even, at the Mountain Mission School. Tell us a little bit about that.
And Jim's commitment to education does not stop there.
He and Fran have set up a foundation or a trust that takes care of a school called the Mountain Mission School.